Hello, and welcome to the LEC post-game lobby. I'm Machine, I'm joined by Drakos and, of course, Rogue's Finn. He's just finished a game, rocking the Aatrox, rocking the cherry socks. We've got a lot to talk about. Drakos, you're the first thing we were talking about was the pajamas. He's calling them the Rogue pajamas, but...
You put the man on blast.
I'm not putting him on blast. I'm just saying they look comfy, and if I'm gaming, I'm in my pajamas anyway.
They do look comfy, and all of Rogue management is like, we love this Machine guy right now. We love him so much. The cherry socks are, pardon my pun, but the cherry on top. I'm loving it. This is an aesthetic. This is a look, Finn. I like it.
Is this a look? I mean, it's a very comfy look then.
Yeah, we were just talking about the gaming jerseys being so far behind everything else. We've got these fancy studios, but I swear I've seen some players complaining even now about this itchy, like paintball. Like you're not going paintballing, you're playing video games.
Well, Alex, do I have the pitch for you?
Oh,
the new Rogue 2020.
Okay, that's enough of that. That is enough of that. Let's talk about the game a little bit, because you guys genuinely just made G2 sweat. I mean, we were sitting there thinking like, in fact, I think Drakos, you looked at me, now I'm throwing you under the bus and said, this looks like it's over. It
did look like it was over. I was texting Deficio saying it was over. I was talking to you saying it was over. I was telling everyone who would listen. I was like, this is over. There's no way they win. When you won that team fight where you just popped off, where you shredded through everyone, I was like, they've done it. And then the next team fight, Soraka lived and everything fell apart. Yeah, it was so close. It was such a nail biter. How did it feel to be in that at any point were you convinced that you had won the game?
No, I mean, one thing we like to joke about is, especially when we play G2, is the game starts when you get Nash. That's when it really starts. So that's when you have to really think and maneuver your way properly. I think we're a bit sloppy on our Nash. We got like 1 tier 2. I think we should have gotten a lot more out of it. And then Elder spawned, and it was just whoever won that fight would win the game. And in the end, I think we executed on that fight quite poorly compared to them. I mean, it's a quite hard comp for us to fight with, but so we need to be really disciplined against Soraka, because as I did like multiple times this game, I kind of overcommitted on Soraka and it just got baited. I think this fight is a good example where I flashed on Aphelios, and I thought I would just like this.
Yeah.
What's Cap's health during this, dude?
Yeah, I mean, it's just going down, up, down, up, down, up. It's like a goddamn sinus curve.
Down. Sine wave.
So it's quite tragic playing us, because at like multiple seconds this fight, we thought we had won the fight. Then in the end, it was like a 2-for-1 for them, which is obviously not a good result. But overall, playing as G2, it's quite stressful, yeah.
Does it feel good to know that you can match or outmatch in solo lanes? Like, I don't know if you guys felt like that was a question, but for me, it always was looking at your team. But seeing the way that you played top lane, yes, it's the Soraka, so obviously your all-in's pretty solid, but also in mid lane, Larson popping off against Perks, punishing him for overcommitting. Did that prove anything to you? Did you already know that you could match G2 players 1v1? Because it felt like it proved it to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the scary thing about G2 is their like individual prowess in the laning phase. It's more about how they play their mid game, because their mid game is really, really deadly. Mid and late game, even. So the laning phase is not really where we feel like they are stronger than us.
Yeah.
It's more when you reach this mid game point that they are doing everything really smart, and you need to be really thoughtful of what you do, because if you like mess up one spot, it'll like this instantly punish you, and it's really rough to play against.
Does that lead to perhaps like a shift in mentality where you're scared to get caught out, scared to make a mistake? Does that bleed into it?
You get a bit more cautious,
right?
I have to say. We're trying to remind each other to like think of what they can do and always try to think ahead of them, but it's hard. It's actually hard.
Yeah, no, interesting. And I think that actually leads nicely into what I wanted to kind of pull PGL to talk about a little bit, was this, that, you know, we use so many words when we're describing players. Consistency is one I always hear, mentality, you know, mental fortitude, all of these different words, which tend to be thrown around. But I wanted to see if we could put our thinking caps on and try and understand consistency a little better. You know, there are some players that are praised for being consistent. You know, we were talking about this on the desk before. There's like, you know, Reckless. You can always count on him as a safe pair of hands, as an example that we've used. My question to you is, first things first, what are the subcategories in your minds of consistency? I wrote communication, gameplay, mentality. I feel like that feels like a solid 3 to start.
I mean, so just to say, from an outside perspective, I obviously can't say anything about communication because I just don't know what your team sounds like.
Yeah.
But one thing that I'll say in my experience is usually true for a lot of teams that we've either listened to or that I've gotten to watch scrims from in the past, is that communication consistency is incredibly difficult, because the second you start to lose, nobody wants to talk. But when you're winning and you're in a good mood, everyone's got something to say. Everyone's like, oh, this guy burned flash, we can go here, we can do this. But when you start to lose, if players continue to talk, that's something I always find so impressive. Because most of the teams that I knew when I first came to EU back in 2016 just shut up the second they started to lose. They said nothing.
I mean, it's very common. Like, it's it's just a like human thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's not really something you can do about. It's just human emotions, and when you're behind, everything feels a lot tougher. It's not as fun, of course. I think fun is a big part where G2 can keep doing this because they're always trying to look, I don't know, for the fun plays, I guess.
And I love, but this is something I've spoken to Counter-Strike players, and as soon as they fall out of love with the game, instantly results. You know, it doesn't matter what, you know, whether you've got the best strategies or you've had a sick boot camp. If you just aren't having fun, it seems stupid. But we are talking about competitive video games, and we're using fun as a factor for consistency.
I mean, it's just a very real thing. I think we're having a lot of fun on our team, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think even in games we're behind, sometimes it happens. If it's like a really long day of scrims, maybe like the 5th game, you feel really tired and everyone speaks less. But generally, we try to always speak up, and we always try to look for the proactive plays because that's kind of what makes the practice worthwhile, right?
Yeah, and so I'm curious, does that transition well for you guys to stage? Because obviously, like at the end of a scrim day, if it's game 10 or game 5, I don't know how many blocks you guys are doing these days, but like very understandable if you're just done talking. That's a freaking long day. But you're coming in, you're playing a single game. So far this split, or for your experience on Rogue so far in general, do you feel like you've been able to consistently communicate, even in losing situations?
Let's see, we lost one game against Origin. I think this game against Origin, we actually, I mean, especially me, I was feeling really bad because I was playing really poorly.
I did,
Yeah.
I personally,
I played it poorly.
let's say shit on you for that one. That was a bad game, dude.
It was a really bad game.
And it's one game. Look, I'm not going to hold it against you, but it was meme-worthy, and that was tough.
I mean, I heard someone after like say, I don't remember. It's like the Finn syndrome, where you like lose on set against Aatrox. I don't know.
I called it getting finned. It
wasn't
wasn't.
Do you want to take this outside? We can do it.
No, and I mean, I don't know if I was the person. Someone probably else said that before me, but that was brutal.
Yeah, it was brutal. But that game, it felt a bit rough for all of us. But this game, I mean, I guess it just ended as soon as we fell behind.
But even in those moments of tension, even once you did get the Baron, you're past the 20-minute mark. The game has now started, as you said earlier. You didn't feel like communication didn't falter.
No,
Everyone was contributing.
We were always looking for what to do.
Yes, but the talking, you know, I would put talking when, you know, against all odds, maintaining communication in the face of defeat. I would put that into, you know, that is mentality as well. I use that as one of my subcategories of like being able to stay, you know, relatively consistent in your mentality. My question is that something that you can see? Like, you know, are there some players in the LEC right now that you think have like the champion's mentality?
For sure, G2 is like always known for this because they're the kings of playing from behind. I think for sure, they're always. I mean, even like if you play against them in scrims or on stage, wherever, it's often times they fall behind early for like some hiccups wherever. They're a bit sloppy sometimes, but usually they run like the 15-minute mark, 10-minute mark. They get their shit together, and they always do one really good play, and they're instantly back in the game instantly. I said instantly twice there, but
yeah. And I think the difficult thing and why it's like it's interesting to get your opinion is because I have like watched a lot of players kind of grow up in the last few years over the course of LEC, and they've changed a lot. And I still feel like you're a very fresh face. So when you're optimistic, I'm like, heck yeah. But I do want to see you in like 2 years. Because like in the past, I won't name any names, but there have definitely been players who like when they're winning and are on a great team, really smile, really good. But then the next season, maybe their team isn't as good. And you just see that mentality go from, I'm going to be the best, to, oh my God, I just have to make it through this season.
Yeah. Losing sucks, right? I mean, like, let's be real. I don't blame these people for falling into the dark cloud. It's just a much more public dark cloud. Now there's cameras and microphones everywhere. Yeah, we talk about the humanity of it all. Yeah, let's jump a little further. Another question I had was regarding kind of the idea of international successes versus domestic successes, because I heard that, you know, there is conversation starting recently where North Americans, some of the North American players from the LCS are saying, you know, to them, a win in the domestic competition means more to them, and they'd rather set their sights on that as opposed to perhaps international competition, you know, a quarterfinals at Worlds, or would you rather win your local split? And I mean, I think that's an interesting conversation that I didn't know was even happening for players. For you, have you noticed that any of you? Is there a difference in goals for perhaps teams or a player basis?
I mean, I think it depends also on how young the players are. I think people kind of like to start aiming for Worlds, and then when they kind of played around for a long time, they actually want to win something. For now, people just want to prove themselves, I guess. They want to go and play like for big crowds and just show that they can play well. But winning the biggest thing maybe is not the most important thing right now. But I think the more as people grow and the more they play, the longer they play, the more they want to like reach that #1 spot somewhere. Maybe it's rank 1 in solo queue, maybe it's winning LEC, maybe it's winning Worlds, it's whatever. Like, for me, I said that I would rather go to Worlds and have a good performance there than win the spring splits, which I think I still agree with. I didn't change my mind because I think going to Worlds and having this opportunity to play against all the good teams there is a better learning experience overall and will take me further, I guess.
So what's the motivation then for you? Because I mean, as you said, there's people who want the accolades, people who want the trophies. Is your motivation just like purely competitive drive? Is it just I want to be the best that I can possibly be, and I believe the best way to do that is to play international tournaments?
The world's best, yeah.
I mean, eventually I want to win Worlds, of course. Not
Yeah, I
this
think
year.
that's fair.
I don't set high expectations now because we're still quite young, this team. But in the next 1 or 2 years, the goal is for sure going to be win Worlds, and that's what we're going to aim for, always.
So then when you look at the regular season, does it make you feel... Does it affect your motivation at all? Because my concern would be when you tell me that the only thing that you care about is Worlds, is that you're no longer worried about, let's say, like beating the G2s or the Fnatics or the OGs. Instead, you're worried at like, okay, how do I get 2nd seed? How do I get 3rd seed? And obviously, you're going to have to beat some of those teams to get 2nd or 3rd seed. There's only 3 slots. But does it affect your motivation at all? Does it affect your thinking?
I mean, obviously, the easiest way to go to Worlds is just winning everything, no?
That's true.
So, I mean, it's kind of... It's not like you can have one without the other. They're kind of just earning together.
The path of least resistance is just win everything.
Yeah, it's quite easy. It's just destroy the next.
Which, to be honest, is much better than all I care about. For me, at least, is all I care about is the domestic title. Because don't get me wrong, I want every player here to be like fired up about the LEC title. I want that to be the thing that's mattered most. But as long as en route to your winning Worlds dream, the first priority is winning LEC on the way, I'm cool with that.
No vacation before MSI.
No.
Cancel all vacays pre-MSI.
I love how half the players on that team are just like gone, no longer associated with that team ever. But that meme will live on forever. The 2016 G2 vacation.
Hey, it's a good meme.
It's a great meme.
I mean, look, player breaks are important, and actually, it links quite nicely into something I've been talking about with Counter-Strike and League of Legends. There's a bit of a kind of back and forth in terms of the format. Like in the open circuit in Counter-Strike, Finn, in comparison to what you've been kind of integrated into with LEC, is there is an event. You get on a plane, you go. You know, it's an MSI, it's a Worlds, but for every event essentially. Yeah. And I wonder if that makes it easier for players or harder for players. You know, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to have an MSI and a Worlds and it's like, you know, you prepare for an event, or it's like we're scrimming, we're playing our daily games at the split? You know, it's a very different world in terms of competition.
Yeah. It's hard to say.
Yeah, of course.
I think in the beginning, I think this could be really fun, just traveling everywhere and playing. But I think in the long run, this will maybe burn you out a bit. All the travel, I hate traveling.
Yeah.
I just want to stay in one place and just play, I guess. So for me, the LEC system is for sure the easier way. I can just focus on my daily routines. Like every day is quite monotone, I guess. And you just keep grinding, keep practicing.
Yeah.
And you don't really have a lot of uncontrollable sources like flight delays, or maybe the boot camp in Cologne is like really badly planned and there's no internet for 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, something like this can happen, right? It's really annoying because it kind of kills your drive.
Yeah, I mean, from what it sounds like, just less variables just makes your life easier. Yeah. Right? And as cool as a great big tournament is, and don't get me wrong, as a caster, I love prepping for tournaments because it's like, I watch you improve every week, right? And that's really cool, but it's also like how much actually changes in the 7 days since I last saw you.
Yeah,
It's very small. It adds up over the course of a split, but if I haven't seen you for 2 months, you play in a tournament, or I actually know nothing about the CS schedule, I'll be honest. Well, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, it's a very dense schedule now.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, the thing I was about to say when you brought that up was like, actually, it's a similar problem for Counter-Strike, except these players, they go to Ukraine, and then next week they've got to go and play in Dallas, and then after Dallas they've got to go back to Europe and play in Sweden, and then they're just, you know, destroying themselves, and that you get this luxury of kind of being able to truly focus on the craft within a very kind of confined and clinical space. But do you see the positives as well? Do you kind of wish you maybe once every 2 months you throw?
Yeah, if I told you could play against FPX, like.
Right, this is what I'm saying. Imagine.
I'll be pretty lit.
That's the trade-off, right?
I mean, it's like, too much of the good thing can become bad. But
definitely. It's an interesting one. But outside of our mentality discussion, something I found a lot of interest there, supporting that is the support staff. I mean, we've been talking to the coaches, but there's so many now. What's Rogue operating with now? Have you got anyone additional?
So we have like 4 people in our coaching. We have a head coach, Freddy122, the OG.
The OG,
king.
yes.
Forward percentage, the highest one. It's a true fact. Check it up.
Okay.
Blumengan, our assistant coach. We have Nico, our analyst, and we have Ismail, our performance coach, which is basically like a sports psychologist kind of. So we have a lot of people around us helping us, like just making our lives easier. They're taking care of all the things so we can only focus on improving on the game and making that improvement rate easier for us to deal with.
And the improvement is very, very easy for us to see. I mean, in your game, of course, like today versus G2. Now, speaking of G2, tomorrow we have got a much anticipated rematch between Fnatic and G2 as the two teams, titans of teams, will face off in our match of the week. That is going to be a spicy bad boy. You looking forward to that one, Drakos?
I mean, I said it earlier. I'm really excited. I used terrible metaphors, but I'm very excited for this one. Cast versus Reckless, especially. It gets me going. You know, I love the storylines. I'm not gonna lie. But Finn, I'm actually curious what you think about this matchup in general. Like, if there's anything that stands out to you. Cast versus Reckless is the Billboard storyline. You're never gonna take that one away.
No,
former teammates going toe to toe. That's our K drama. You know, at heart. But I'm curious, like, what you actually think is gonna be the most like volatile lane or volatile matchup here.
I think a lot of it will be decided on bot lane as well. I think top lane this game might be spicy. Bwipo likes to play really aggressive. It's fun to see. And Wunder is also really talented, so it could be explosive up there. But I think primarily Fnatic as a whole likes to pull the tension down there. And I think G2 would have to match it, or I don't think they will win. Probably.
I'm taking that nugget. I'm putting it in a suitcase and I'm using it tomorrow.
I'm not a psychic. I don't know what will happen.
Sure.
But
No, but it's fine. It's a theory. If you're wrong, no one's going to flame you.
I think that there's going to be a lot of fighting around bot side, and whoever comes out on top will win the game.
There we go.
That's the best thing you can hear as a Fnatic fan, for the record. You're like, I've seen 3 TPs come into the bot line. I don't even know where the third TP came from. There's like a sixth man that shows up the second Fnatic want to play around bot. I remember the Lysandra TPing bot. I remember whatever the hell Bwipo was playing, probably Aatrox or Gangplank, we'll just guess. So that's hype. That to me always means it's going to be an explosive game, because when Fnatic play around bot, they're one of the few teams that's willing to commit literally everything to playing around bot. In sometimes, we'll call it int fashion, but...
Int fashion?
Yeah, int fashion, in a very inty fashion. But generally, always willing to commit. Sometimes it bites them, but they're always going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to intentionally throw out of this one. G2 versus Fnatic is our final game of the day, but there is so much more coming up before that. We do have the likes of, well, you can see it on your screens now. We're going to be starting with the Schalke SK game, and of course day 2 continues with XL Vitality. We get to see the Mad Lions meeting Rogue. Finn will of course have your thoughts on that one, and then when Origin and Misfits with that G2 Fnatic, as of course saving the very best till last. Mad Lions tomorrow. Those boys have been looking pretty fierce.
Yeah, so scary cats.
Yeah, very scary. How are you feeling about your matchup against those guys?
We're gonna do what?
I don't know. I don't know what this gesture means.
Skirmish, hustle,
stab him. I don't know.
Slice him.
Slice him. What do you? I mean, how do you feel about the matchup versus Rome?
I feel pretty confident in myself.
Ooh, nice.
I think
not gonna get finned.
No, I mean maybe he'll get finned, but in the other way around.
That's a use of the verb. Yeah.
Nice. You get finned
by Finn.
By Finn.
Yeah,
that's good. That's like next level.
But I think if we play to our strengths, if we play standard, if we play calculated, we'll win.
Yeah. Okay, so you are going to be finning it up tomorrow versus Mad Lions, and we are going to be stop using your word name as a verb. Cut that out now, sorry about that. And instead, we are going to be saying off our goodbyes. Now, the LEC, this has been my first day of a new year, 2020. My goodness, the start of a new decade of League of Legends. It's been an absolute pleasure, gentlemen. And if you did miss anything from the LEC tonight, be sure to check out our rebroadcast. It's starting right after the LCS Academy rush. For now, though, that is all from us here in Berlin. Fear not, we'll be back tomorrow for more of the action.
Bye-bye.
Let it continues to chase. Rome's looking for Trick, manages to take him out. Oh, time from Kaze comes out. Genax is dropped. Mad Lions take down SK. Holding on to the trigger. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's this coordination, we just don't know. The railgun comes down and nobody's died just yet. Sonic Wave resonating strike. Odo goes, oh no. depth charge will be used in just a moment, and now all of a sudden that's a kickback, finds a knock up into Lurox. Give that man some air miles, because Lurox went flying.
We make our country proud. This is the Battle of the Brits. Trevor, take us in for game 3.
Yeah!
We just tried to outplay their opponent.
Dead center. Minutes from 10 to 20.
Mickey?
Death sentence won't find a target. It may not be needed. The ultimate comes up by some time. Mickey with a help. Are you kidding me? Oh, please, all of Fnatic is being run down by Whippo. Here comes Reckless, pulled up by the Lantern. Fight on multiple fronts. Mickey's looking for another. Gets caught. Manages to escape with his life, but Whippo's not done yet.
And Origin get out 5 members. There's the depth charge, but Cabochard's already fallen. The sleep comes out onto our buy. Newton flashing forward, and Comp goes goodbye. Jacktrot's got a ball as well. The stun comes onto Saken. Finn's on a ward. Inspires up towards the top side. Finn jumping in. The Aatrox, the Dawning Shadow. Is the damage enough here from Rogue? Because otherwise G2 is just going to reset the fight, but already Caps is so low. He is healed up. Finn can't quite get on him. Larson trying to do it now. Caps still alive somehow. Larson jumps in once again, and Caps survives. Look at Perks jumping onto the back line now as Larson falls. G2, you just can't kill him.
And you're at 10 HP.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's actually crazy. I mean, I think everyone kind of feels for you, but like Soraka is like
Hey, I ulted them away, okay?
I really,
And G2, after a nail-biter of a game, after back and forth, this and that, G2 take the win.
We have been tumbling around each other for quite a time. When you were coming around, I didn't feel like we tried. Your heart was shy and so was I. You found my weakness right. As time went by, we walked the line. You made us go insane. Da 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 da. I feel like you wanna taste the tickles over my face. Let me direct you the way. I know you want it to stay. Your heart was shy and so was I. You found my weakness right. As time went by, we walked the line. You made us go insane. Da 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 da.